Welcome to the debate.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today.
Before we dive into today's discussion, just a quick reminder that you are watching NFL Nexus. If you enjoy our breakdowns, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and jump into the comments to let us know what you think.
Absolutely. And, if you want to really support the show, become a channel member. You get exclusive content and perks, so just click that join button below. We really appreciate it.
For sure. So let's get into the material. Right now, if you look at the media covering the New York Giants, they are completely obsessed with their backup quarterback, Jameis Winston.
Oh, the World Cup tour, it's everywhere.
Right. He's spent the whole summer traversing the globe as this, World Cup correspondent. I mean, he's getting knighted by fans in England.
Literally hanging out with goats to honor Lionel Messi.
Exactly. And cleaning stadiums alongside the Japanese faithful. It is, honestly, a fantastic, feel-good television narrative. It's generating millions of clicks, but the true fate of the 2026 Giants, under first-year head coach John Harbaugh, does not rest on flashy off-field headlines.
No, not at all.
The actual defining storyline of this season comes down to a very specific mechanical disagreement regarding how this roster is constructed. And, well, where its ultimate breaking point lies.
Right.
So the central question we're exploring today is this. Is the ultimate key to the Giants' 2026 success the return and health of star wide receiver Malik Nabers, or is it the defense's ability to survive the massive interior void left by Dexter Lawrence, specifically relying on second-year defensive tackle Darius Alexander?
It's a huge question.
It really is. And I'm going to argue that the offensive ceiling, which is entirely driven by Malik Nabers, is the critical factor for this team.
And I contend that the defensive floor, dictated by Darius Alexander's highly precarious transition on the interior defensive line, is the true make-or-break element.
Well, I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective on just how structurally vital Malik Nabers is to everything the Giants do.
Go for it.
Nabers is the irreplaceable engine of this roster, and it really all comes down to how he mathematically alters the geometry of the football field. I mean, if we look at the empirical evidence from his 2024 rookie campaign, he wasn't just good. He was a historic anomaly.
He had a massive year, yeah.
He set the franchise single-season record with 109 catches. He finished third among all NFL wideouts. And keep in mind, that's producing ahead of established superstars like CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson.
Right, the volume was definitely there.
But it's not just the volume of catches. It's the mechanism of his impact, Nabers commands defensive attention in a way that forces opposing coordinators to change their entire alignment. He doesn't just catch passes. He literally forces the free safety to play 3 yards deeper and 2 yards wider.
Which opens up the middle.
Exactly. That invisible 5-yard bubble of respect is what actually opens up the running game. It gives the quarterback clean reads. And, well, we saw exactly what happened when that engine broke down. His devastating Week 4 knee injury against the Chargers in 2025. It functionally doomed their season.
It was brutal.
It really was, and despite him sustaining a setback this offseason, he remains the single player this organization cannot survive without. Every single passing concept, every run-pass option, every pre-snap motion revolves around his gravitational pull.
I come at it from a different way. You can have the most powerful, gravity-shifting receiver in the league, but if the foundational structure of your team is actively sinking into the earth, that receiver is rendered entirely moot.
Sinking into the earth is a bit dramatic, don't you think?
I don't think so. The structural integrity of the Giants' defensive line is a far more critical and, frankly, far more vulnerable pressure point. Let's just look at the baseline reality here. The Giants ranked 31st in the NFL in run defense in 2025.
Yeah, it was rough.
31st? They were ahead of only the Cincinnati Bengals. That is not just a statistical quirk. That is a foundational crisis.
Sure, but...
And now you compound that crisis with the fact that they traded their elite premier run stopper, Dexter Lawrence, to those very same Bengals for the number 10 overall pick.
Right, a huge trade.
Then you factor in Roy Robertson-Harris being out with a torn Achilles tendon. You are looking at a defensive front that has been thoroughly hollowed out.
It's definitely thin.
Thin? The entire defensive viability of this football team now rests squarely on the shoulders of Darius Alexander. We are talking about a converted offensive lineman from Toledo entering his second year in the NFL.
Who has a lot of upside, though.
Maybe, but expecting him to plug the most critical structural leak on the roster, to essentially replace an all-pro interior anchor makes this the most precarious storyline of the year.
I mean, look, I don't deny that the interior defensive line is a glaring vulnerability, but you have to evaluate the cascading effects of Neighbors' irreplaceability versus that defensive weakness.
Okay, lay it out.
You have an offense that is finally achieving baseline stability under Harbaugh. You have a full season of Jackson Dart at quarterback. You have a heavily revamped offensive line that finally has competent starters across the board.
Confident is doing a lot of work there, but sure.
But in the modern NFL, which is built entirely on passing efficiency and explosive plays, a stabilized offense still fundamentally collapses without its primary weapon. Let's look at the production. In the 4 games Neighbors played in 2025, he was averaging 67.8 yards per game.
Right.
But more importantly, he dictates whether safeties roll down into the box to stop the run, or if they are forced to play too high shells. And by a too high shell, I mean the safeties have to immediately backpedal at the snap, completely removing themselves from the run fit just to ensure Neighbors doesn't beat them deep.
Yeah, they have to respect the speed.
Right. So if he is not on the field for week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys, or if his knee setback limits his explosive cutting ability, the defense isn't threatened. The safeties step up, they crowd the line of scrimmage, and the season threatens to unravel immediately because Jackson Dart suddenly has to throw into incredibly tight windows.
I get that.
It's like having a state-of-the-art security system in a house with no roof. If a team's primary scoring threat is neutralized, how can a defense, even an improved one, win games in a league built on offensive firepower?
Well, I get the overarching logic there, but you're missing the reality of the blueprint. You can't worry about how many points the offense can score when the defensive foundation guarantees they'll barely see the field.
Barely see the field?
Yes, you ask how a defense can win games. The problem is that a 31st ranked run defense means the opponent offense fundamentally alters the math of the game by controlling the clock.
Sure, ball control is a factor.
It's the whole factor. When a defense cannot stop the run, the opponent doesn't need to attempt risky, explosive passes. They just methodically chew up 5, 6, 7 yards on first down.
Which keeps the clock moving.
Exactly. And that immediately eliminates any exotic blitz packages the Giants might want to run on second down because the offense is always ahead of the chains. They convert third and shorts with absolute ease.
Right, but
And they keep Jackson Dart and your irreplaceable engine, Malik Neighbors, freezing on the sideline. You can't score if you don't possess the football.
well, obviously.
So the structural vulnerability on the interior line guarantees that the opponent dictates the terms of engagement before the Giants' offense even unbuckles their chin straps.
See, that argument assumes the Giants' offense will be passive when they do get the ball. Doesn't a highly efficient, explosive offense force the opponent to abandon that ball control running game?
Not necessarily. I mean, if Neighbors is healthy and striking quickly, let's say they score a touchdown in 5 plays on their opening drive. Opposing offenses suddenly have to pass to keep pace. They can't afford to run the ball for 3 yards a carry if they're down by 2 scores.
That's a big if. But that plays right into the hands of the Giants' defense, which, as we'll discuss, has phenomenal edge rushers. Efficiency trumps volume in the NFL.
That relies entirely on the premise that the Giants can actually force a 3rd and long early in the game to get those quick stops, which brings me exactly to the stylistic shift we are seeing on this defensive interior.
You mean going from Lawrence to Alexander?
Yes. This is where the mechanics of replacing Dexter Lawrence with Darius Alexander become deeply problematic. When you look at the breakdown from analysts in the source material, the contrast between these 2 players is just stark.
They're very different body types, I'll give you that.
Dexter Lawrence was a broadsword. He was a classic, squatty nose tackle with an incredibly low center of gravity and massive lower body strength.
Built like a fire hydrant.
Exactly. He possessed elite run-stopping prowess because he could anchor against double teams. Mechanically, what he did was drop his pad level, engage the center and the guard simultaneously, and refuse to give up ground.
Right.
By eating up 2 massive offensive linemen and clogging multiple interior gaps, he allowed the linebackers behind him to flow freely to the running back without getting blocked. He was a physical anchor.
He was an immovable object, absolutely. But, that's a very specific traditional way to play defensive tackle.
It is, and it's what they desperately need. Now look at Darius Alexander. He is the exact opposite profile. He is long, he is linear, and he operates like a rapier rather than a broadsword.
He's quick.
His instinct and his biomechanics dictate that he wants to play upfield. He is a penetrator. You simply cannot plug a pass-rushing, upfield profile into a gap-control, run-stopping void and expect the defense to function the same way.
But he disrupts the backfield.
Sometimes, but teams will exploit that interior violently. When a penetrator like Alexander tries to shoot a gap to make a flashy play and guesses wrong, he takes himself completely out of the play. Worse, he leaves the defense incredibly vulnerable to inside zone and dual blocking schemes.
Okay, walk me through exactly why that upfield style is such a liability against those specific schemes.
Because in a duo scheme, the offensive linemen are looking to create vertical displacement. They want to drive the defensive tackle backward or wash him out of the play entirely.
Right, a double team straight up the middle.
Exactly. When Alexander shoots a gap and misses or gets caught standing too tall because he's a linear player, he gives those offensive linemen exactly what they want: momentum.
I see what you're saying.
They don't even have to try to turn him. They just ride his upfield momentum straight past the line of scrimmage, essentially using his own speed against him to create massive, gaping cutback lanes for the running back.
But they have veterans to help with that.
Yes, the Giants brought in DJ Reader and Shelby Harris to help on the interior, but they are older veterans. They cannot physically endure 80 snaps a game in the modern NFL. You're asking a linear pass rusher to be the foundational anchor of a defense that was already terrible against the run when they actually had the best anchor in the league.
Look, I don't disagree with your breakdown of their physiological differences. Alexander is objectively not a one-to-one replacement for Dexter Lawrence in terms of raw mass or anchoring ability.
Not even close.
However, I would frame that stylistic difference as a necessary evolution for the defense rather than a fatal flaw. You're focusing entirely on what happens when a penetrator guesses wrong.
Because he's young, he's going to guess wrong a lot.
But let's examine what happens when he gets it right, and look at Alexander's actual production and background. Despite only starting 2 games in his rookie year, he recorded 20 tackles and 3.5 sacks.
It's an okay start.
But the crucial context is his trajectory, right? In the final 6 games of the season, once he actually started acclimating to the processing speed of the professional game, he tallied 3 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. He is a dynamic interior force who creates chaos in the backfield.
Chaos is great on 3rd and long. Chaos on 1st and 10 on a rushing down usually just means you've abandoned your gap assignment and the linebacker is now getting steamrolled by a pulling guard.
It can mean that, yes. But here is where Alexander's unique background becomes an immense, underrated asset. You mentioned he is a converted offensive lineman from Toledo.
Right.
You frame that as a negative, as if he lacks defensive pedigree. I argue it's his superpower.
A superpower? That's a stretch.
No, think about it. He understands intimately what an offensive guard is trying to do to him because he spent years studying and executing those exact techniques. He knows the subtle shifts in weight distribution before a trap block.
Okay.
He understands the leverage points and the hand placement an offensive lineman needs to secure a double team. When a guard tries to jump set him, Alexander knows exactly where the vulnerability is on that guard's breastplate.
Knowing it and beating it are 2 different things.
But this allows him to exploit offensive line techniques as an interior pass rusher in a way that traditional defensive tackles simply cannot process. He doesn't have to be a squatty, 340-pound run stuffer if he is consistently disrupting the play in the backfield before the running back even has time to reach the line of scrimmage.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that. Let me tell you why.
All right.
You are asking a guy who spent his entire collegiate career blocking for a quarterback to suddenly develop the raw, instinctual anchoring ability required to absorb 600 pounds of double teams from NFL guards and centers.
I'm saying he dodges the double team with technique.
Theoretically, sure. He knows their tricks, he knows what they want to do, but practically, that is a massive physiological and muscle memory leap. Knowing what a punch feels like doesn't mean you know how to absorb it without losing your balance.
Fair point.
And if he loses his balance, that high-risk style forces the linebackers to overcompensate. If the linebackers are guessing because they don't trust Alexander to hold his gap, the entire defense is compromised from the inside out.
Which brings us precisely to why John Harbaugh is managing this team the way he is and the broader trajectory of this roster.
The grueling camp.
Right. Harbaugh isn't blind to these defensive risks. He is fundamentally a coach who understands how to build physical and mental resilience to mask schematic fragility. This is why he is currently implementing a notoriously grueling training camp, scheduling an exhausting 10 practices in 11 days.
It's an old-school approach.
It is. He is forcing this team to take live reps, to build calluses, and to correct those exact gap control mistakes in real time under physical duress. He is conditioning them to withstand the physical attrition you're worried about.
Conditioning doesn't change your body type.
No, but more importantly, when you look at the offense he is building, it is a complete ecosystem that just needs its linchpin. We haven't even factored in the return of running back Cam Scatabo from his lower leg injury.
Scatabo is a great story, but how does a running back solve the defense's problem?
Because Scatabo provides the vital counterbalance to Malik Neighbors. Scatabo has a punishing physical running style. When he is healthy, he forces the defense to respect the interior run game.
Okay.
When the defense brings a safety down to deal with Scatabo's physical presence, they leave their cornerbacks completely isolated on the outside. And that is exactly where Neighbors destroys teams.
Assuming he's 100%.
Right, but the pieces are all finally in place. The offensive line is revamped. The quarterback is settled. The running game has its bruiser back. Malik Neighbors is the final essential piece required to push a franchise that has languished under .500 in 8 of the past 9 seasons over the hump.
I hear you, but
If Neighbors is healthy, the offense forces the opponent into playing catch-up, which completely mitigates your concerns about the defensive interior, because the opposing team has to abandon the run.
you are building this magnificent, perfectly calibrated offensive narrative while completely ignoring the brutal domino effect that occurs when the middle of a defense is soft.
I'm not ignoring it, I'm saying the offense counteracts it.
You say the opponent will have to abandon the run and pass the ball to keep up. Fine. Let's say they do. The Giants arguably possess an elite edge pass rushing group. They are terrifying on the outside.
Absolutely.
But mechanically, what happens when an offense drops back to pass against elite edge rushers? The offensive tackles try to wash those rushers up the arc, behind the quarterback. The quarterback naturally steps up into the pocket to avoid that outside pressure.
Exactly. And Alexander is there to meet him.
Only if Alexander wins his matchup instantly, which we just established is highly volatile. If you do not have a consistent interior presence that can collapse the middle of the pocket, if you can't physically push the center backward into the quarterback's lap, the way Dexter Lawrence did, your elite edge rusher is completely neutralized.
They just step right up.
Exactly. The quarterback simply climbs the ladder, finds a clean area in the middle of the pocket, and delivers the football. If Alexander gets washed out or trapped because he's too long and linear, the middle opens up like a canyon.
A canyon might be pushing it.
It's true. That black hole left by Dexter Lawrence is a guaranteed failure point for the entire defensive structure. If the defense cannot stop the run on first down, they cannot force third and longs. If they cannot force third and longs, the opponent utilizes play action and quick passing games, rendering the edge rushers obsolete.
Yeah, I see the chain reaction you're outlining.
And even if they do force a passing down, a soft interior gives the quarterback an escape hatch. The defense is a fragile ecosystem, and right now, the floor is so dangerously low that even a highly functioning offense led by a generational talent like Malik Neighbors will find themselves constantly playing from behind.
Well, it is a fascinating tension between two entirely different philosophies of roster building.
It really is.
If we synthesize our positions here, my core argument remains that the absolute ceiling of the New York Giants is exclusively tied to the health and production of Malik Neighbors. Without him on the field replicating that historic 109-catch production, manipulating defensive secondaries, and forcing those safeties out of the box, the offense simply cannot score enough points to compete in the modern NFL.
Right.
He alters the math of the game in a way no one else on this roster can.
And my summary is that while ceilings are wonderful to talk about, you have to establish a foundational floor to even step onto the field in this league.
The trenches.
Exactly. The Giants' floor is entirely dependent on whether Darius Alexander can mask the catastrophic structural absence of Dexter Lawrence on the interior defensive line. If he fails to hold the point of attack, if his linear rushing style gets exploited by duo blocks, the defense collapses, the edge rushers are negated, and the opponent controls the entire tempo of the game.
I think where we fundamentally converge today is the recognition that the Giants are a team in a highly precarious state of transition. I mean, they are placing an immense, almost unfair burden on incredibly young players to carry the weight of these massive structural shifts.
They really are. People forget both Neighbors and Alexander are under 25 years old. Neighbors hasn't even turned 23 yet.
Right. And both of these young men are being asked to overcome massive hurdles simultaneously. For Neighbors, it is the physical and psychological hurdle of returning from a catastrophic knee injury, dealing with a subsequent off-season setback, and still being expected to carry an entire passing offense.
It's a lot.
And for Alexander, it is the profound technical hurdle of transitioning from a college offensive lineman to a professional defensive tackle and now being asked to step into the massive shoes of an all-pro nose tackle and anchor an entire defense.
Which really underscores the value of looking past the superficial narratives that dominate the news cycle, you know?
Oh, definitely.
And it's always fun to debate off-season lists about the top 25 players under 25. But those things are just noise.
Yeah, they don't win games.
They don't. They do not dictate what happens in the trenches on a Sunday in November.
The mechanical realities of roster construction, the physics of leverage and momentum on the interior line, the geometric impact of a true number one receiver on a safety's alignment, these are the tangible factors that actually determine success in professional football.
In observing how John Harbaugh manages these two specific, immense pressure points during a grueling training camp is going to tell us far more about the 2026 Giants than any feel-good storyline ever could. There is just so much more to explore in how this coaching staff develops young talent under fire.
I couldn't agree more. As we watch the Giants this season, the media will naturally keep their cameras pointed at the flashy storylines, but the real drama won't be found in the penthouse.
No, it won't. The real drama is whether this team has the firepower to outrun its own flaws, or if the foundation is simply too hollow to keep the whole structure from sinking into the earth. We'll leave it there for today. Thanks for tuning into the debate, and we'll catch you next time.